What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junk Drummer TV, where I give my initial reactions, my hot takes, and my analysis on the drummers of today and yesterday, and maybe tomorrow if I stick around that long. I am a professional drum teacher and a gigging musician, and I have been those things for 27 years. Today's episode is a Patreon request. It is requested by my very first patron and probably most definitely one of my first viewers, Jimbo Mills. Thank you, sir, and this one goes out to you. When I started this channel, I wanted to make sure that I did every genre, and I think I've done a pretty good job over the last almost and a half years. But one thing that I have not done is just like a straight up pop drummer, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to watch Brenden Buckley with Shakira. It doesn't get much more pop than that. Before we get into it, if you like what I'm doing and you think I deserve it, please give me a like, a comment, and a share. Go check out my Patreon. Go check out my merch table. I also have my signature drumsticks for sale on my eBay store. All of those links are in the description. Let's pop it up. And let's see if we hear a soca. And if we hear a soca, it's Shakira. We're going to hear a soca, right? First impressions. Now, obviously, he's just playing Four on the Floor right here. I don't know this song. This song is called Waka Waka. Who was the Muppet that said that? It was Ralph. Rolf. Was it Rolf? Ralph? Who said Waka Waka? Tell me in the comment section. Anyway, first impressions. All pop drummers who play in for big, huge stage productions like this, you have to be like a computer engineer. If you notice, he's got two laptops to his left. He's got, I don't know if that's the SPD drum pad there to his left. There's a bunch of rolling pads to his right. When you do one of these kind of gigs, you are reproducing a lot of especially snare drum sounds and like percussive, usually sample sounds off of the record, and you have to really know what you're doing when it comes to all of this technology. I am so glad I've never had to deal with this. Probably I'm not good enough to get a gig like this, and also I know for sure that I'm not smart enough to keep all of that shit running. Okay, he does have 3 snare drums, which is probably his attempt at trying to acoustically represent snare drum sounds off of these records. Because, you know, if you've heard a lot of Shakira, maybe some songs have a live drummer, but a lot that I've heard do not. So you have to think in ways to get the acoustically, because, man, let's be honest, if you're a drummer, you don't like hitting a drum pad. It's like fucking with 3 condoms on. It's just not the same. But you will try to get the sounds with an actual real drum, and he's got like 2, and then there's like a third. That looks like maybe like a mini timbali there. That's a thing that you can do to try to play real drums when you're playing one of these kind of gigs. So playing like a kind of a disco groove, like, or a house groove if you're from the United Kingdom. 16th notes, two-handed on the hi-hat, going down to the snare drum. One thing that is very obvious is you can tell he's playing with a metronome, and I mean that in the best way possible. This song is got to be, and I don't know this song, but I would assume that the original is a lot of looped drums. So you kind of, as a drummer, have to try to replicate that kind of computer feel that you get from loops, and he's doing a good job at that. One of the things I like about this recording is we're not getting what the drums sound like through the PA. We're getting purely what the acoustic drums sound like. One of the things that I've found that students or inexperienced drummers try to do is with added elements on their drum heads, you know what I'm talking about, duct tape and socks and shit, is you try to get the sound of the drum as it is in a recorded way, in a recorded record, tape, CD, MP3, stream. And you can't, because when you listen to recorded drums, in between your ear and that drum is a microphone and a whole host of effects and EQs and compressors. So you're not going to get that sound. What these drums sound completely different out front, I assure you. But this is obviously this is a great acoustic sound. When you're trying to tune your drums and you listen to a recording and say, I want my drums to sound just like that, you can't do that acoustically. I don't care how many towels and pillows and foam and bullshit that you put in your bass drum. It can't sound that way because you're listening to an amplified bass drum or whatever ever else part of the drum set. Something to think about, because listen to what his drums sound like without any of that. Yeah. If you notice, he's not doing any kind of accents. It's every note is the same dynamic, and that's what you would get out of the loop. So without, again, not knowing the song, he's probably trying to reproduce that and doing wonderfully. As a drummer, as a human, you have to think like a computer when you do these kind of grooves. What did I say at the beginning? We're going to get a soca somewhere. That's a soul calypso. It's an Afro-Cuban groove. And please forgive me because I don't know the etymology. I don't know where every rhythm comes from, but this one is the most associated with like the Cuban area, the Afro-Cuban area. I think Shakira's Colombian, so it's the same hemisphere. But this groove right here, if you've heard a Pitbull song, you've heard this groove. You know, that pattern is 1, a 2, and 3, a 4, and it's a magic pattern. It's magical because you can play it anywhere and you want to dance to it. There's something about the organization of those notes played on those particular drums in that order that makes everyone universally want to move. It's magic. It's a magic groove. You should learn it so you can make people dance. It's very easy to watch him play and think that he's being clinical, and he is. But that's what this song and or this gig in general calls for. Not a lot of room for expression dynamically, especially. You're there to serve the song, and you're there to reproduce what the crowd paid, I'm sure, a lot of money to come to see. This is a job. This guy's doing a job, and he's making a good living on it for sure, because he's playing with Shakira, and this is from 2018, so she's even bigger then, and she's huge now. But this is a big high dollar gig. Sometimes you have to put your artistic endeavors and wants on the back burner to make a lot of money, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. That's what's going on here. It's not clinical. He's just doing exactly what the job calls for. Yeah, he's playing traditional grip now, playing that soca over on the ride cymbal. And here's the thing about these kind of drummers, these like A-list tour and or studio drummers. Man, this Brenden Buckley can play everything. And I've never seen him play before. I've only seen, I don't have my glasses on, 3 minutes of his playing. But I can tell you that any gig that calls wanting a drummer, he can cover it and do it wonderfully. You can't get these kind of gigs without having that ability. The days of specialized drumming is over. The music business is too fractured for that. Somebody can't call you and say, hey, I need this jazz gig. Like, but I'm a rock drummer. Nah, you just can't do that anymore. Someone calls, if you're someone for a rock gig calls and you say, I'm a jazz drummer. Ain't no room for that anymore. I guarantee that this motherfucker can play jazz if you need him to. And anything else that you need him to. That's how you get to these kind of gigs. I don't know where that upbeat thing is coming. There's got to be a percussionist on the stage somewhere, right? Because he's playing on a ride, but I hear that thing in there. That's either a sample that he's playing along with. There's a percussionist. It's Shakira. She's got to have a percussionist. Something that I want to talk about, they're playing in front of fucking 25, 30, 40,000 people. Notice that this guy's just letting the microphones do their work. He's not doing anything differently from an attack standpoint than if he were just playing in a small club. This man understands what he's doing. It could be very easy if you play in front of a bunch of people, and I have very limited experience with this. I can tell you I've played in front of 15,000 people a few times. And your first tendency is to play more and overplay because you're playing for this big, huge crowd. But that's the wrong way to do it, because that's not what you do it when you're practicing and you're playing in like a regular gig for us mere mortals. This is a perfect example of restraint. He understands what those drums sound like out front, and he doesn't have to do anything more than what he's doing from an attack standpoint. See what I'm talking about? Now he's going over here and fucking around with this Mac. I can barely get this Mac to record these videos. I couldn't imagine having to run all this shit and do all of your sounds and samples from it. Why does Akira Why does Shakira's drummer have a double bass? Man, even his trash can endings are clinical. Whew, okay, so yeah. Man, a great drummer. He has to be. He wouldn't have that gig if he wasn't a great drummer. I don't know, man. If I'm being honest, just from the histrionics of him playing, this guy's probably played this same exact show, the same exact set, the same exact song 100 times, maybe less. And it kind of feels like he's just, hey, you know what? He's clocking in and he's doing the right thing for the gig. Keep that gig. That's about all I can get from that. It was cool. Everything he was playing was perfect, obviously. Jumbo Mills, don't be mad at me. I'm always honest on this channel. I know for a fact this motherfucker's a badass. I know he is. He has to be. There's no way that he's not. This is one of the more kind of just clinical, it's the only word I can use, performances that we've seen. But that doesn't mean that he's not great, because he obviously is. If y'all liked all that, please give me a like, comment, and share if you think I deserve it. Jumbo Mills, don't be mad at me for not really going crazy for the thing that you sent me. I appreciate you so much. But if you want that gig where you're playing in front of tens and 20s, thousands of people and playing behind one of the biggest pop artists in the world, you got to keep practicing until it's easy.